What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I was going to talk a little bit about a few items that I've picked up for my bicycles recently and how they've been working for me. The first thing is the Swift Industries Zeitgeist bag. Channel member Dylan was posting in the Discord we have about grabbing one of these because he had a dividend from REI, and REI actually carries Swift Industries, so it was a good way to use it. I followed suit and did the exact same thing. I've kind of been interested in these style of bags for a while, but I didn't know what to pull the trigger on. I really would like to set up my Raleigh as a bike packing style bike. All the touring I've done is more like your traditional cyclo touring, which has been on my vintage bikes with the rack and pannier and that more traditional style setup. I was hoping to do a little maybe more gravel off-road type touring where, that lighter and tighter setup would make more sense. That rhymes. Anyways, so I grabbed the bag and right off the bat, I was pretty, thought it was like a pretty cool setup. I like that it has structure to it, and it seemed to attach really tightly to the handlebars, and it uses valet straps on top, which I'd never used, and I was curious how they would work, but they're super secure. And then the way it attaches to the head tube as well really held it in place. So for the first ride, what I did, I was going out for a ride through the Cuyahoga Valley. I was going to do a mix of road, some off-road, a little bit of gravel type stuff in there. But I was going to end up over at my girlfriend's for a bonfire, so it was the perfect chance to load it up with clothes. Because on my ride, I was in shorts and a t-shirt, but it was going to drop, and I wanted jeans and some warmer clothes for later and some stuff for the evening. And it really was great. I really was impressed with how it held it in place and how secure it was. I really like the way that it has compression straps too, so you could adjust for how much you have in there. Another thing I did when I just had it sitting here was I loaded it with my tent and my sleeping bag, and then was able to use the compression straps to push it all the way down and see how that fit in there. So my original intention though, I thought it was going to be a saddle bag, but when I saw that it would fit between my bars, that's where I actually put it. My shifters did brush it, and my hands did rub on it a bit, but not enough to be a big effect. And then when I'd stand up and pedal a little bit, my knees would grace the bag a little bit, but not enough to be like a big deal. It must be something with the way I ride when I stand up. I'm like Caleb Ewan or something, just 1,000 times slower. But yeah, I don't even understand how people could use feed bags like on the back of the bars. Those would be completely in my way. But yeah, so just some minor things that weren't a big deal. But the thing that did bother me is I do ride the Raleigh with those bars on the tops a lot. And with the way the bag was attached, I couldn't do that. So what I ended up doing is ordering one of their spacer kits. So the spacer kits come with 6 foam spacers, 3 for each side, and some longer valet straps. And basically what that does is it pushes the bag out and it gives you your tops back. This also had, though, it fixed all the other minor inconveniences that I just mentioned, because it also dropped the bag down the way I set it up. And I'm pretty tall, so I think the bike's probably a 60 equivalent. So I have room for it to be dropped down. It's not hitting the tire. If clearance might be an issue on your bike, that might be something to think about. Or I haven't tried to put it more flat with the spacers. That might work as well. But yeah, so my knees no longer hit it. It dropped it down low enough that my shifters clear it. And then also it wasn't rubbing on my hands, and only like a tiny bit if I'm down in the drops. But if I'm going to be riding in the drops a lot on a long day, I'm going to have my gloves on anyways. It's pretty minor. I could still pack it full. So I really recommend the spacer kit for that reason. Also, if you want to attach a light or anything else onto your bars, it's good for that. So yeah, now I'm thinking that this works really well on the bars, that maybe for my bike packing setup, I just buy a second one and do put that on the saddle, because then I'd have all the room for my tent, sleeping bag, stuff in one. The other one could carry my clothes, and then, I'll link to some of my other videos about my touring setup, but I'd use the same frame bag that fits my tent poles. So yeah, I'm really happy with the bag. I'd recommend it. I can't remember if I said the price. They're $190. So it's not cheap, but they're made in the US, if that's important to you. And the quality is, you could just tell these are high quality bags. So, if that's something that you value, you're going to get the longevity out of it. For me, there's certain things worth spending money on, and this turned out to be, I believe it's going to turn out to be a really good purchase. Anyways, that leads me into the second thing that I've picked up, which kind of goes with this bag, is I went just on Amazon because I couldn't figure out how to find this stuff. And I asked the bike shop if they had it, but it's basically just a bunch of cordage and then those tightening toggles. And the Swift bag has D-loops on the top and then other, like, what do you call that, webbing strap that you could run cordage through. So my idea then was, now, especially with the bag dropped, and I think it would work with the saddle bag, is if I do need more room for clothes, that hopefully I could just like tie down like a dry bag or something like that, or for like a sleeping mat, which unbelievably I do not have one and I really need one, is that could be the spot where that could go. I was also thinking when you're a long day riding and you have a jacket on and you want to take it off, just having some, that like kind of webbed around to be able to just like pull your jacket off and stuff it there on top, stuff like that. You're out touring, you pick up something, you need some extra space. So yeah, I think that'll be a kind of a cool thing that just always comes in handy. It's always good to have stuff like that, but yeah, to extend the space of the bag, and that's another thing that speaks to how well and thought out these bags are made. So today, another reason I think this will come in handy, and with this bag, is I wanted to go out and try out the active track on my DJI Mavic 2 Pro. I haven't really messed with that, and the active track is where the drone flies autonomously following whatever subject you select. So it would be, in my case, obviously me on my bicycle. The problem with doing this on your bike is, where do you put your big controller, which is attached to your iPhone? So I was thinking maybe I could strap that down to the top of the bag. And so that's what I'm going to try out as well. I've tried this before with my old drone, which the tracking was not as good anyways, but me and Ben were out riding along the gravel. And so I started the drone up and then I put my remote into whatever bag I had at the time. What I didn't realize at first is I bumped the joystick. And so the drone started taking off, way off to the side. And I was like freaking out. And Ben was like, the remote, the remote, the remote. So if you've ever flown a drone and seen it start doing something you don't want it to do, it is quite terrifying. So this might be a way that I could actually still even maybe control the drone a little bit while I'm riding. Anyways, the next thing is, it's not exactly new. It's something that Ben gave me for Christmas, but I just attached to the Raleigh a few weeks ago, is a new bell. And this bell is from Spurcycles. It is amazing. So the bell just has like this super low profile, and it attaches in such a cool, like nifty way, but it really is. I can't think of like the better term for that. It's just so cool because it's such a small metal band that it's so easy to route underneath cables or into small spaces. And then, like I said, the bell has a small footprint on its own, but then this bell is just so loud and just resonates forever. It's definitely not cheap for a bell. It's $50. But again, it's something you're going to have forever, and it is worth it in the sound. And then just like I said, the low profile, the way it attaches, it's just amazing the way it's made. I think and it is also another thing that is made in the United States, if that matters to you. But yeah, just really cool. And I know people have different opinions on bells. I'll tell you right now, a lot of times when I'm out riding, I'm fine saying the on your left, but some long days on like a bike path, when you just get tired, you just kind of want to ring a bell, or people aren't paying attention, or they have headphones on. Or even the other day when I was out, it was super windy and my voice wouldn't carry, but the bell would. So I like them. I like having them. A lot of times it's a soft ring and an on your left, but when you just want to be able to ring a bell, I dig it. I think it's cool. So yeah, it's something that I never would have thought of getting one that's way nicer. So it's especially something cool to get as a gift like that, Yeah, and then the last thing I've picked up recently is the GoPro Hero 9. I didn't intend to get a 9. I thought I lost my GoPro Hero 8 on St. Patrick's Day. So I ended up ordering the 9. Of course, I found the 8 a couple days later, but I decided to keep them both because I have wanted to do some 2-camera recording, and I'm already thinking of a couple ways that would be cool. One, like attaching one of the GoPros to the handlebars and then having the other one to move around and then cut those together. Also, maybe the handlebar one is running like a time lapse or a hyperlapse, so you have that footage to cut in without, if you want to shoot what's going on in the sides, but you're trying to run a time lapse, that doesn't work. So I'm thinking it'll be cool to have a 2-camera setup like that. The other thing with the 9 I've noticed so far is that the size is a little bigger, but I'm hoping that it pays off already with this back screen being a little bigger, and it's supposed to pay off with the battery life being a little better. So I think that after using it for a few weeks, I won't even notice the size difference. It is a little weightier, but again, that's pretty minor. They're already small cameras, and you're already going to be carrying something extra, you know it. One thing I noticed with the first video I posted from it is it actually didn't look quite as good as the 8 footage, so I really need to dive into the settings more and figure out what I have going on. I shot at 4K, 24 frames a second, but I need to look and see if there's bitrate modes, profile modes, and stuff like that. It's one of the things with GoPros, I usually just don't pay that much attention. I kind of set them up the way I want them, like, you know, within a few weeks of getting them, I save those presets on the back, and that's what I use. I just need to get in and do that with the 9. So again, absolute first impressions, I've kind of just put it at the, you know, the way I want it for like the most basic things, but I do need to dive in a little bit and check out some more of the stuff to make sure I get it dialed more. It's a bigger sensor. The image should be much better. I have looked at the photos already, and the photos are a big improvement. Again, I need to dive a little deeper into what the photos look like. With the 8, I barely used it for photos unless I was trying to do like a remote thing, the voice control, like, hey, GoPro, take a photo, so I could get a selfie for the thumbnail with my bike or something. But the truth of the matter is the 8 is not as good of a camera as this iPhone, so I just didn't use it for photography. The 9 might change that a little bit. So the other big benefit I'm looking forward to on the 9 is it has better horizon leveling. I think without that special lens they sell after the fact, the max lens mod or whatever, it's up to 30%, which is enough for me because I'm not going to be going upside down, and if I am, something is wrong. So I think that'll be really cool in 2 ways. One, my mountain bike, I can't actually mount the GoPro completely flat, so this will account for that. And then just that when you're doing like the sideways pans when someone's riding by, when you're riding your bike and you're holding a GoPro and someone's moving by, you're not able to keep it level. I cut that stuff out of a lot of my videos, and sometimes I'm cutting a scene short that I still wanted more in because I'm just unhappy with the, you know, the waving on it, so whatever, you know, so the horizon level should be a really cool feature for that. So yeah, I'll probably end up talking more about all these items down the road and how they work for me in videos as I use them more. So this is kind of, yeah, you know, obviously I'm sold on the Bell, but the other stuff, you know, I definitely know I'm going to dig it, but it'll be interesting to see how I end up using it in more real world stuff as I go forward. And I do look forward to making a full, like, when I get that bike packing on the Raleigh dialed in, you know, like I said, that bike just doesn't have the mounts. It's an older gravel bike. It was never set. It just wasn't set up as much for that. So I think these Swift bags are going to be a really cool thing for that bike. And if you wonder why I keep looking off camera, it's because the bike's sitting right there and it's just a bad habit. Anyways, that is all for today, and I will see you in the next video.